Hi, my name is Rachel
Yeah.
Smith, and I'm from the manager from Venvi Art Gallery, and I'm honored to be here with Jack Reilly, an internationally recognized painter. And his current exhibition, In the Round, the Circular Paintings of Jack Reilly, is currently on view here at Venvi Art Gallery. And Jack is widely known as a pioneer of abstract illusionism, and over the past 5 decades, his paintings have been shown across the US and abroad, and his large-scale public commissions can be found in both corporate and civic spaces. And in this exhibition, Jack explores the circle as both a visual form and a symbol, creating radiant paintings that combine geometry, repetition, and a spiritual resonance. Today, we'll talk about his journey, his process, and the inspiration behind this body of work. First thing I'd like to ask you is what inspired you to work in abstract?
Oh, well, when I was in college, I was painting realism, photorealism, and I was working on a series of paintings, painted models, and placing them in front of a big blank background. And then the lighting I would put on the figures would send shadows all around them. So there'd be all those shadows on the wall, okay? And I graduated from college, and I was tinkering around with this stuff with the models and all that stuff again. And all of a sudden I was spraying on those backgrounds. So I was spraying the area that would be behind the figure, a nice field of color, 3 or 4 colors that spanned the canvas. It was an 8-foot painting. And as I was spraying it, I liked the color so much that I just decided that I was going to go ahead and spray over the model that was in the painting, over the picture of the model. At that point, it was just a graphite drawing on the canvas. And then all of a sudden, I was looking at the painting and I said, I'm an abstract painter now. And that changed everything for me. Now, when I was in school, in college and grad school, I was studying with a variety of professors. One was a very significant abstract from Britain named Trevor Bell, and a couple others were representational painters, American painters. And I was getting a wide range of information coming into me. So I was kind of teetering while I was in college, somewhere between realism and abstraction. And so painting is something I can do, and occasionally I'll fall back and do it. If you notice over my shoulder here, in the background, there's a painting that's working on a series, I was calling it. And in that one, I was juxtaposing old master paintings through, along with my brushwork that I use in my contemporary paintings. This is from a painting that I took from Village. I didn't copy it, I painted it. And it's from the Conversion of St. Paul. So it's a piece that came where I'm juxtaposed abstraction, as you can see in the foreground, that part, and against the representational painting. It was a series I was about to take off on. As I found I was representing paintings by old masters, each time I painted it, I had to change my style to fit their style and in the representational background painting. And I just decided I wasn't going to pursue that any longer. So this is one of 2 paintings that I did about years ago, dealing with that idea of juxtaposing my abstract brushwork with a representational painting. So to answer your question, I am still a classical painter, even though I work primarily in non-objective abstract art in my circles.
Yeah. Oh, what was the series called again? I couldn't quite catch that. Because
I was calling it the Modern Painting Series.
Okay. Oh, nice.
It was an irony, a juxtaposition of thoughts and words and concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a pioneer of the abstract illusionism movement, could you tell us more about the movement itself? And do you think your circular pieces are a continuation of that movement or something new entirely?
I'm holding a slide, okay? And I just happened to have these here because I was going to scan them. And this is from that series that I was just describing to you. I'm going to put that up there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see that. Put that there. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah, I
with
can.
The figure?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 12-foot piece. So that's from that particular series.
Yeah.
And these were the ones that I did when finally I just painted over them.
Yeah.
just happen to have these slides handy. There you go.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that was before I went full abstract. That's funny to
Yeah.
have that. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the question? Next question.
As a pioneer of abstract illusionism, as the pioneer of the abstract illusionism movement, could you tell us more about the movement itself? And do you think your circular pieces are a continuation of that movement or something new entirely?
Yeah, well, absolutely. The circular pieces are a continuation of that work. But the original abstract illusionists, and we're talking about the 1970s, okay, the mid to late, or
Yeah.
early 1970s. I was like the last of the, I was the youngest abstract illusionist at the time. I was 27. And it was really about challenging a lot of the ideas of abstract. You know, the famous critics, Clement Greenberg and Harold Rosenberg, and they were making the rules for, more or less making the rules for abstract artists to go by and to paint by. And one of the ideas that was very prevalent in abstract expressionism and then color field painting and then in post-painterly abstraction was the idea of the picture plane being absolutely flat. The plane would be better, or the painting would be. And the abstract illusionists, basically, we rebelled against that. Now, a lot of the abstract illusionist painters were realists before they got to do the abstract illusion. So we were used to working with detail and shadows and realism to an extent. And so that was basically, it was a abstraction. Most of us, and we each had a different style. Everybody's painting, everybody had their own look to their painting. But one of the things that was so prevalent in those use in shadow. And so we were breaking down abstract paintings and adding a new taboo thing to them, which was space. It was pictorial space being added to an abstract painting. But the difference was that the pictorial images that seemed to project came forward instead of going backwards. Now, before that, all pictorial space was done with perspective, went into the painting, into the picture plane, and to the perspective lines. And these basically, the images that were seen in space were projecting or floating out in front of the paintings. Very different from traditional abstract painting, but it looked the same, except it had space, lots of space.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember in college I learned about Clement Greenberg and Rosenberg as well, and like the action paintings and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to see like how illusionism was impacted by those two critics and stuff like that. And
well, many of the illusionist painters were painting in abstract expressionist style, except adding the space. I was painting in post-painterly geometric style, so it really stood out. It was quite different from the rest of them who were doing more of an expressionist way of painting.
Yeah. And what first drew you to the circle as your canvas shape for this series?
Well, once I went to abstract, I had my first series had 5 paintings in it that were 8 paintings in it in my first LA show, and they were all rectangles, all standard canvases. And after the show was really quite successful, took off, I decided I wanted to make more of a visual event out of my paintings, not just a painting with space on it, but a painting where the whole painting so from the wall out. And so they were interactive wall. So my paintings were, at that time, geometric, but they were not shaped traditional canvases. So you might see a shape that looks like kind of like that kind of thing on the exterior, with layers that appear to be laying on top of each other. And that's what I did for many, many years. And recently, about 5 years ago, I thought I might bring the circle into my paintings. You know, it's different. There's a number of artists doing it, no doubt. But I think I have my own way of handling it with the colored areas around the outside, and then the ethereal color with interior. And it also has a lot of significance. It comes loaded with ideas. For example, it's crucial in mathematics and physics. It's throughout. It was the origination of the wheel, the basis of the wheel. Scientific devices, so many of them use a circle or a wheel or something to make them work. And it's a symbolic image. a symbolic image of cosmic unity, cyclical nature of existence. And in religious traditions, it signifies sacred geometry, spiritual concepts, including unity, infinity, wholeness, the universe, divinity, balance, stability, and perfection, among other ideas. So it also has that. So when you look at my painting, deep meaning, what you're going to find there related to that is basically the loaded idea of what a circle comes with. But ultimately, I'm just making beautiful objects to contemplate. And I am employing all my tricks, all the stuff I've learned over the years, space that I have in my illusionistic, they are illusionistic because the center circles tend to look like behind the outside. People often think that the colors on the outside are some sort of frames.
Could you describe your creative process?
Of course, first of all, I have to stretch it. And stretching a circle is no easy task.
Yeah.
If you look at the back of those, I don't know, are there 1,000 staples back there on some of them? I mean, there's a staple like every, I'm looking for my finger, there's a staple like every quarter, eighth inch around the back because you have to tug it in a way where it doesn't bend or buckle on the side and make a fold. So that's part of the process. So it takes a while to staple them down and stretch it nice and tight. Of course, then I put a gesso coat on it, let it dry it again, then I'm ready to paint. And then comes the ideas of, well, what they're going to look like. I've pretty much come up with a formula, and I know that formula is not necessarily the best word used in art, but I have a mathematical formula for the proportion of the circular color areas around the outside to the inside. And I keep that consistent regardless of the size of painting, at least at this point. And that's how they begin.
I'll also do airbrushing and stuff for each piece, right? How do you do the airbrushing? Because I know like when we came to help install the pieces, there's tape, like paper and tapes covering the airbrushed surfaces.
Well, the external, so the surfaces around the perimeter, you might even call them little orbits, you know? That's with an acrylic paint, just dabbed on many numerous brush strokes that I put it on there. And that's straight up acrylic with some metallic pigments in some of the colors. And that stuff is, I mean, it's virtually invisible. It dries. It doesn't fade. It doesn't melt. It's there for good. And you can actually handle it. It doesn't matter if you touch it, whatever you do to it. But the interior, where I spray on the interior colors on the inside, that's sprayed on with an airbrush or a spray gun, depending on the size of the scale of the painting. But the way it attaches, the paint attaches itself to the canvas is like a fine dust. And when you're airbrushing, you don't really want to spray it where it gets wet. You want that the minute the paint hits the canvas to kind of dry, and not because if you spray it wet, it's going to drip. So it adheres to the canvas in a different way. Now it's not coming off, but it's super thin. It's super thin, and it could be scratched easily. Or if you got grease on your hand, some oily stuff or whatever gets on there, don't have to paint the whole thing over again. So it's all then at that point. It's a delicate surface and be treated.
The circle carries a lot of meanings, cosmic, spiritual, even mathematical. Which of those resonates the most with you in this series of works?
You know, I think when I really approach them, more so from a visual point of view, the circle is to me the format of my painting. Maybe more so than all the other connotations that circles have. It's just a circle, basically. But what it does hearken to are the beautiful things that have been made by other artists throughout thousands of years of history, or at least hundreds of years of history, dealing with the circle. You have the windows in the cathedrals of Europe, rose windows, circular windows that have all the stained glass in them, and they're just beautiful. They're just plain beautiful. You know, some of them will be design, and some of them will have pictures in them. It kind of depends on what that artist was doing for what the place was, whether it was a church or a castle or something like that. So I think the original question was, yeah, it's a formal element that is different, and it's harder to work with. It really is than a rectangle. And I haven't painted a standard rectangle since 1979. I don't know. They go against my whole idea of
Yeah.
a painting has shape to it.
Yeah.
It's an object itself, somewhat of a sculpture. They're three-dimensional in their own right, even
Yeah.
though you would define a painting as a two-dimensional object.
Yeah.
But my surface also, if you can see the sides of it,
Mhm.
it drips and goes right around the side of the painting.
Yeah.
Well, so the side of the painting is equally as important as the work I do on the front of the painting.
You spent years teaching and mentoring young artists. How has being an educator influenced the way you make your own work?
Well, the great thing about being an artist, a professor as I was for 3 years, is I come in contact with lots of students, lots of young people that are at a stage in their life where they're experimenting. And I have to say, on occasion, I will come in contact with somebody who is basically a totally gifted person. Whether it's how they paint, what they do, it's going to be great. And then they just have that depth and commitment to doing it. Occasionally, something a student might do might have a little influence over me. I'm not saying what, when, and where, but it is possible that happens, where I'll pick up on something and I'll say, I'm gonna make that, I'm gonna do that, and bring that into my work and put my own spin on it. But in general, that doesn't happen real often, but has happened with a couple of my students over the years.
Yeah.
It's just a real joy to work with students of art, and especially to inspire them to be artists. Now, the problem is being an artist is a very difficult profession because it is very hard to make money.
Yeah.
And a very small proportion of the artists make enough money to buy their materials even. It's a labor of love, and most artists get their income from other sources. And I've been fortunate enough to sell a lot of paintings sometimes and make a lot of money, and other times it doesn't happen. And when I started out, my abstract illusionist paintings were so popular, I was making 50 of them a year.
Oh, wow.
50 shaped canvases, anywhere from 3 feet to, yeah, that was a big production for a couple of years. And I sold all of them. I sold them faster than I could make them, as a matter of fact. There were times when there were waiting lists for my paintings.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, I don't have that same problem right now. But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
I sympathize with young students wanting to be artists these days, especially now, where inflation has brought up the cost of living. For example, when I moved to Los Angeles after graduating from FSU, I rented a studio, and it cost me $80 a month.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
imagine
That's
now.
pretty cheap.
Imagine
Yeah.
that happening. It wasn't a huge studio, but it was a functional building. That was a standalone building. That was my studio, and you can't touch that today. And then I found an apartment in California, in Los Angeles, for $140. So about $250 was my monthly amount of money I had to get by.
Yeah.
And that's not a whole lot compared to today, where studios and apartments, what you get, a one-bedroom apartment for $1,500. I mean, I don't know what they're going for around, but back in those days, they were much more affordable. So it's harder now, and many artists I know now, that they make their money from their spouse.
Yeah.
Now, I know that sounds a little weird, but they got a spouse with a job, or they're holding a side job as well. It is just not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I started in 1972 painting. That's a lot of years. It's been a great life. It's been fun. I've had great moments of up and down. Uh, you, you know, um, success, a few failures. I did some crazy stuff during the mid 80s that was just disastrous. And I managed to dig my way out of that.
Nearly 50 years after leaving, your work is back here in Tallahassee. What does it feel like to come full circle, literally and figuratively?
Yeah. Well, I had a great time at Florida State University. I had some fabulous teachers. And after moving to California, I saw the difference between what was happening at FSU and happening at schools in California. We were learning New York style stuff. The attitude there was very much New York. You go out to Los Angeles, it's very Los Angeles, very LA, and it has a totally different attitude than New York has in many ways. But coming back, I hadn't been back there since I left town. And it feels good, I have tremendous respect for my school there and for Tallahassee, and it's neat to be back. It really is. It's nice to be back, and I don't know. The work, there's still a lot of similarities between what I was doing then and now, and that seems to stay with every artist for a period of time.
And do you think you'll keep exploring circles in the future, or are you already imagining other shapes or directions?
Well, I pretty much made paintings of every shape that exists. Whatever you want to call them in terms of geometric shapes. And the circle, I like the feel of the circle. I mean, they're not easy to make the canvas, of course, but I like that. So, but however, I have a little something I might be running on the side that will be different, and it won't be attributed to me. It'll be attributed to somebody else. But it'll be me. But it won't be Jack Reilly. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Anyhow, it'll be a very, very different painting. But that's not going to stop what's happening with these circles. They're going to go on and continue as far into the as far as I can tell.
And given your expansive career in the art world, what advice would you give to aspiring artists?
Really, it's been 10 years since I've been teaching university now, so things have changed a lot in those years. I'm not sure if I would encourage somebody to be an artist or not, because many people don't have it. They just don't have it in them. It's not that they don't have skills or talents. It takes a certain animal to maintain being an artist for your whole life. I would suggest that they take a good hard look at the reality of the situation before entering it, and not do it. I'm not saying don't do it, but you should know what you're getting into, and that's the advice. Hang on for a minute. I would say do a double major while you're in college if you can. Try something practical as well, but not if you hate it. I mean, if you just can only do art, then just do it and figure out how you can marry well, marry a rich person. I didn't do that, but anyhow, I know those who've done.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to sincerely thank Jack for sharing not only his art, but also his insights with us today. And In the Round with circular paintings of Jack Reilly will be on display at Venvi Art Gallery until October 19, 2025. And if you're local, we encourage you to visit the gallery from person Tuesdays through Saturdays from 12:30 to 5:30 p.m. And if you're watching our artist talk from afar, check out our website at www.venviartgallery.com so you can view our past and upcoming exhibitions and our present exhibitions as well.
And thank you to the Venvi Gallery for hosting this show. And to any of you out there who might see this, feel free to contact me at jackreilly.com. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions because I could go on forever with this kind of stuff. And even if they're real questions about you or your own art or whatever, I'd be happy to help you I wouldn't mind doing that through email or whatever. So feel free to reach out to me if you care to.
Yeah,
And
well,
thank you for Rachel, and thanks to Brenda and for being with such a fine gallery that you have there.
thank you so much. And thank you all for taking the time out to talk about your artwork and your exhibition with me today. Thank you so much. Enjoyed this artist talk with Jack Reilly? Check out more art-related content on our YouTube channel and feel free to subscribe to stay in the know of what happens at Venvi Art Gallery. To learn more about Venvi Art Gallery, check out our website at www.venviartgallery.com. From there, you'll be able to find information regarding past, present, and upcoming exhibitions if you click on the Shows tab. And if you click on more details for the present exhibitions, you'll be able to see the installation images of the exhibition, artwork for sale, and also the press release for the exhibition as well. Venvi Art Gallery is open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 12:30 to 5:30 p.m. And we are located in Tallahassee, Florida at 2901 East Park Avenue, Unit 2800. Thank you for watching.